So the elements and principles of, if you have your mic on, could you please mute it?
I had a question.
What's up?
Do we have to take notes on these?
You can if you want, but I'm recording this. So if you have any questions, it will be on that recording and you'll have access to this PowerPoint. Anything, if you're quizzed on anything, you won't be tomorrow, but you might be later. You can always come back and reference it. Anything that's on a quiz will come directly from the PowerPoint. So you don't really need to take notes, but if you learn better that way, taking notes while you're learning, then I suggest that you do that. So the elements and principles of art. This applies to every single work of art that you can create and every single work of art that has been created. So first we're going to learn about the elements, and I think we will just get through them today. So there are 7 elements of art. There is line, shape, color, value, form, texture, and space. So we're going to start by learning about line. A line is a dot moving through a space. So it starts in one spot and it just keeps on going. There are many different types of lines, like horizontal, vertical, zigzag, curvy, curly, spiral, thick, thin. Shapes are made out of lines, angles, cross hatchings. It's supposed to be scumbling, and just random dots. Those are all different types of lines. So this is called a contour line drawing. This means that while this person was drawing this image, they did not lift up their pen, pencil, writing utensil from that page. Wait, no, this one isn't, but there's one that looks like it that is. This is just a contour drawing. That means that it is just the drawing itself. There is no dimension to it. There is no value to it. It is flat. It is just made out of line. This one is uses line to create a portrait. So this portrait is actually just made out of scribbles. So an artist just kept on moving their pencil and pen over and over again to scribble, and it created those portraits. Where it is used, lines are used in almost every different type of art. They're used when you're planning a composition, sketching. They can be an art form all on itself. We'll be using them when making contour line projects or a continuous line project. About shape, you're going to click on this button. You won't click on it. A shape is a flat area surrounded by an edge or an outline. There are 2 different types of shapes. There are geometric and then organic. Geometric shapes are the shapes that you would see in a math class. Organic shapes are things that you might see in nature or basically everything else. It could be a cloud or a blob. It could be a plant. It is something that is not mathematical. So the 2 examples that I have are from artists. I believe this is an artist, Paul Klee. He uses shapes and colors to create different objects. And this is another artist, Piet Mondrian, and you may have seen his stuff before. He uses primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue, and shapes to create his compositions. It might look easy, but this is much harder than it may seem because straight lines are tricky to achieve. So on to color. Color is an element consisting of hues where there are 3 different properties. Ignore this. There are hues, there are intensities, and there are values. There is not chroma. I don't know why that's included in there. There are 3 different types of colors. There are primary colors, secondary colors, and tertiary colors. The primary colors cannot be made by mixing other colors to create that. Those are yellow, red, and blue. There are other colors that are made by mixing 2 primary colors together. So you would make green by combining yellow and blue. You would make violet by combining red and blue, and you would make orange by combining yellow and red. Tertiary colors are all of the other colors left behind. So that would be a mixture of the primary and secondary colors. That would be like yellow, green, orange, yellow, red, orange, red, violet, blue, violet, and blue, green. we are going to be adding color to different works of art by using color pencil, oil pastel, paints, chalk, or ink. I chose these two images. This is The Screen by Edvard Munch, and this is a pointillism piece. I chose this one to show you color because I like how they used contrasting colors. Those are colors that are across from one another on the color wheel. So there's orange in the sky, and then there is blue in the sea. It creates an interesting dynamic that really creates a mood about this work of art. It makes you feel scared, just like the subject matter. And then next to this is a pointillism piece. This artist used multiple colors to create this composition. This is made up of just dots. It is a very large work of art. They used multiple colors of dots next to one another to create the different shades. So this would be a shade of green. This is a darker shade of green in the shadows. And then this is a lighter shade of green where the sunlight hits. About value. Value is a basic element of art that refers to the gradual change of lightness or darkness of color. So over here we have a value scale. At the very end of the value scale, there is a very light color. It is practically white. At the opposite end, we have the darkest black, and in between are all of the grays. This is a gradient where it goes from light to dark, and this creates the value. So this is the darkest value, middle values, and the lightest values. We can also see this in colored objects all around us. Value is determined by the light around an object. So these are two examples, good examples of value, and they're also good examples of contrast, which we will be learning about later. This is an artist, his name is Caravaggio. I actually saw these paintings in real life when I was studying abroad in Italy, and they are humongous as well. Basically, all paintings are either huge or they're extremely tiny. That's just the way that it is. So he uses value by using his darkest end, this number 10 down here, to create his background. And then he creates high definition shadows. You can see the shadow of his muscle. You can practically, he looks real life. He looks like you can touch him, and he used that by using values. You can see the lightest value is on his shoulder. This is where the light is hitting directly. The lightest values are always where light is hitting, and the darkest ones are always in the shadows. About form. Form is an element of art that is practically just a three-dimensional object. It has volume, it has length, width, height, versus a two-dimensional flat shape. Form is created by adding value to a shape. So at the bottom, we can see squares, you can see cylinders, you can see cones. Those are all created by adding value to a shape. So on the darker edge, there is a dark shadow, and on the lightest part, there is a light value. About texture. Texture is how an object appears to feel or how it may feel. It may look or feel smooth, rough, spiky, or I don't know what rough exact is. I don't know why I put that one in there. You can use texture if you want an object to look more realistic, or you like when you're drawing animals, hair on people, you can draw skin. There is texture to every single object. There is smooth, there is rough. One example of this in a two-dimensional work of art is a palette knife painting. That is where you put a glob of paint on the end of a tool called a palette knife, and you put it on a canvas. When you feel it, it feels bumpy and it feels rigid, because when oil paint dries, it becomes hard. And lastly, space. Space is the element of design which refers to the area around, above, or below an object or objects. We will see space created with a foreground, midground, and background. This represents how close or far away an object might be from us. So this is actually the first ever one-point perspective painting. A one-point perspective means that every object in this is all angled towards one point in space. So the one point in space in reference is this door. So the artist might, all of the lines line up to that door. So that's why the sidewalk or whatever this is is angled all towards that. It looks like the objects that are farther away from us, like these people right here, are really tiny. And this building looks smaller like it is in real life, because any object that is farther away from us gets smaller as we look at it. And that is going to be our elements. We are going to go through the principles tomorrow. So let me end my recording.